Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Stand Out Women Live. I'm your host, Michelle B. Griffin, and today it's all about the mini book, and how to be a first-time author or a new author, really. If you've already written a book and you want to get something out there, we are talking about how to build your authority and write a book with a mini book, become a first-time author. And I'm pleased to welcome to the show for a second time. This time, hope she doesn't disappear, is GEHAN ARDANOSKI. Welcome, G.
Hi, everyone. Michelle, I'm thrilled to be here and I am so psyched to talk about this topic. So, yes.
Exactly.
Hi,
Hold it up.
everyone.
G is a first-time author of a mini book that published about August 16th, 2024. If we're going to date it, right? That's the official date. She's here to share her journey because back in April, you did something. But I get so excited to tell your story. I always do this, G. I always jump ahead and forget the most important thing. For those who don't know you yet, can you please tell us a little bit about you, and then we're going to get into this story to inspire more people to become mini book authors like yourself.
Thank you. And what's funny too about our relationship, Michelle, because you've been along with me on this journey from the get. I mean, the past few years through Clubhouse and the niche and all of the magical stuff. Many times I feel you can tell my story for me better than I can in moments. So it's amazing to be here. And yes, I'm G. And I'm the founder and creative consultant for Golden Synergy Touch. And so I have 20 plus years of HR experience. And as of now, I am a fractional HR consultant doing a few different things, but really aligning LinkedIn training with Clifton strengths to amplify value and visibility for career victory. And all of that said, my ideal niche client, of course, is HR, HR professionals, leaders in the space, people who really want to do more on LinkedIn and doing the deeper dive discovery of themselves. And that's what I'm here to help them with. So I have the empathy and the passion for it. And I've spent so much time in the space. And that's sort of what led me to the topic we're going to talk about today with the mini book topic. So
Yeah. So just to fast forward, everybody, G has an incredible network, incredible experience. Go to her website, Golden Synergy Touch. Look at all those wow factor logos of where you work. She's worked at some really top places, doing some top work. She was invited in April to give a 5 minute. Can you imagine doing a speech? You think TEDx is great, 17 or less? No. Can you imagine trying to write and nail and just really be compelling in 5 minutes? You did it, G, and you knocked it out of the park. I can remember April. I'm sitting in my backyard, a beautiful April evening. You said, Michelle, here's the speech. I want you to watch it. And I watched it and I immediately texted you. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This is phenomenal. I think I watched it twice, G. I'm like, you were born for this. You have such charisma and just all the stuff. So I got so excited, like I usually do, because I love helping women position themselves. And what did I say, G? Let you finish the story. What did I say after that?
you should write a book. You should write a book on this talk. And yes, and this is really amazing too, with everything you do with Standout Women, Michelle, and helping just, amplify our shine and it really bringing out the best in all of us. And I love your show. I love what you do. And I remember in that moment, I had just a few weeks prior given this 5 minute, it's a TEDx style power talk, if you will, or an Ignite speech. So in 5 minutes, 20-minute or 20 slides on auto rotation. So you have to get up. Disrupt HR is phenomenal. So if you go to disrupthr.co is the website. And yes, I was invited to participate and speak at Tucson's inaugural event at the beginning of April. And I was just blown away. It was exciting. I prepared for it, met some incredible people. And then I ended up giving my talk, of course. And then a few weeks later, the video came out. And that was when I sent it to you and said, hey, just wanted you to take a look at this. And Michelle, to this day, I still have the audio voice notes that you left for me. You gave me the most uplifting feedback. It was mind blowing. I probably played your reaction to it, I don't know, at least 5 times that night. I was so wowed. And I still remember, so that was the end of April, pretty much. I think it was around April 26th, 27th. And then we started talking very briefly, and you said, gee, basically, you might want to consider writing a book. And I thought, oh, and a mini book in the form of a
Mhm.
mini book. And that was when you introduced me to Chris Stanley's mini book
Yes.
format,
The
which
mini
I
book
know we're going to
model.
talk
Yes.
about.
Yes.
But yeah, please, do you want me to continue from there? Do you want to talk about what happened next with the
Yeah.
cohort?
Yeah, no, it was just around actually, I think that night I was so excited. I don't even think I dropped the book thing. I just said, "You were born for this. You're so good, blah, blah, blah." I was just blown away. And I think I was thinking, wow, if I tell her to write a book on top of this, she might go a little nuts on me. So I think like a few days later, I said, we're doing this cohort. Shout out to Jen Lafine. And we have this, we started this and we're gonna run around again this fall, but we had our May initial founding cohort and how to write your nonfiction business book draft. It's kind of like the November NaNoWriMo. I can never say that, but it's exactly what it is. And you were one of the founding members. And what did we teach in there? You don't have to have a huge amount of war and peace to write your business book, right? What did we teach in there? You take it away. And I want to shout out to Chris Stanley if you're watching or in the replay. Your mini book model is exactly what we taught and promoted in the cohort. So take it away, G, because you certainly did model after it.
So the cohort, the intention of it was to write the draft, get our thoughts out there. And I
Mhm.
took it a step further in that moment, though, because we had a phenomenal group of people in our cohort, but I already had pretty much my idea in mind, and I took those 5 things that I talked about in my Disrupt HR talk, and decided to basically blow it up from there and incorporate a couple of other points and make a book out of it. And using that mini book model, which is a more condensed, uh, I like to say digestible version of a book, really more, around what? Is it 9,000 to 10,000, 5,000,
Mhm.
7,000? I always get the
Something
numbers
like that.
mixed up, but ultimately it's not the daunting book that people think they need to write. So you think, oh wow, I want to write a book, but books are 200 pages in length. And that's not really what we talked about. We talked really focusing on the draft, making
Mhm.
sure that we were writing for a goal. And I, though, knowing where I wanted to go with it, and I wanted to crank it out pretty quickly,
Mhm.
I decided to say, okay, here's my draft. And then from there, I completed the draft, and then I went through the additional steps. And within the past couple of months, I was able to finalize it. I edited, finalized, published, and a couple of weeks ago it came out. And I am sitting here now
Hold it
with
up.
this. Oh,
Yes.
and
Hold it
hey,
up.
how can I forget the prop, by the way? I
Oh,
mean,
you gotta have your prop.
well
Exactly.
explained,
You
if
gotta
you
have
will.
your prop. And that day or that evening,
Oh
didn't
my
it
goodness.
hit
So yes,
Amazon #1 bestseller? Didn't it hit that?
I
Uh-oh.
can't. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me? Oh, no. Every time G and I get together, she was on the show back in April. She calls herself the transition magician and she has these magical powers. She just disappears. Something happened again. This can't be happening.
Do not
Hold your
even
book.
tell me. Did I
Okay.
did I disappear?
One of us did, but hey, that's just what happens when you're the transition magician. There you go. There's the book. There's the book. There's a stack behind her. So you really did from idea to concept in like 4 months. And it could actually be even quicker. Not that we want to rush and just, get out something. This is a quality product. So here's the thing for those listening live or in the replay, we are here for you. Shout us out. Do you have a book idea in you? Tell us what your book idea is. We want to hear it. Do you have an existing speech, some concept, some framework? This is all viable material for a mini book model. We also want to shout out, and I have links to Chris's book you can look at, and also G's speech as inspiration. But G, you're coming today. There's a long bit of your story. You have 3 key concepts for those who want to become a first time author with a mini book. What are those 3 things to get everyone started and get out there?
We all have a story. Every one of us has a story, right? And everyone has an idea. So the first thing I want to focus on is taking that idea and considering who you're writing toward. And if I can back up for 1 second. So this was not an overnight thing for me wanting to write a book. I've wanted to write a book for years and years and years. I actually started writing a book around this time a year ago. And for years, I stayed stuck on this. I thought, what am I going to do? And I changed and shifted who I was even writing toward. It was messy. And then at the end of last year, I decided, you know what, I'm going to table this for a little bit. And then all of a sudden, this came along, and I literally did within months, 4 months, that probably would have taken me otherwise 4 years to do.
Yeah.
So it's having that idea, but really targeting your audience. Know who you want to write for,
Mhm.
even if you don't have it all figured out. That's not the point. Just
Yep.
you have that thing inside of you that says, I know I have a book. Who do you want to preach to? Who do you want to share that idea with? Because they're not going to please everybody, and not all of
No.
our books are going to. I mean, for example, take it the title. There were a couple of people who came back and just even poo-pooed it from the word Satan alone. They are not my
Mhm.
target audience. The vast majority loved the cover, loved the title, smiled, laughed about it. They got it conceptually because HR has a very negative stigma attached to it in moments. And that was what I wrote about, is kind of, destigmatizing the myths, if you will.
Yeah,
So
you wrote it, in the cohort, we did my authority book blueprint about how to, position the book and get really, really foundational. So, especially a mini book, it's really targeted to a specific problem, a message, and a niche. So that was one thing. So for those listening and watching, if you have an idea, put it in the comments. I'm gonna take 1 second just to do a shout out to Gail. Hi there, ladies. Thank you so much for being here. Career victory. Love that perspective. That is exactly what you do. Hey to Brenda Meller. Hooray for you both. Thank you. Thank you. Gail again. Mary Woo. If you're not having trouble with technology, you're not using enough. Isn't that the truth? Especially LinkedIn Lives. Hey, Phil. Hey,
yay.
congrats, G, he says. Okay. And Brenda, such a clever title, G. See? People like the title.
Thank you. And especially from Brenda Meller, shout to her,
Yes.
because marketer extraordinaire. If she gives the seal of approval, then you're onto something. So thank you. And thank you everyone for joining. This is great seeing all
Yes.
these names.
And Felipe, who is in HR, says, yes, definitely take out the stigma. So,
Yes.
yes, you did. You were talking to HR professionals. You are not talking to someone in some other industry or whatever. That is your target. So, you got really, really gritty and really foundational on who you're here to serve. And I would even suggest, and I'm writing my book now too, and it's been condensed right to where you want to go. And that might be one of your steps. So, I might have interjected something, but let's get on to number 2, because I know people are really wanting to know, how can we do it just like G did it, because you were phenomenal in this story.
Consider going smaller with the mini book model. And by the way, I preface this with, and I'm sure Michelle will agree, we do not, what's the word? We're not endorsers, or what is
Yeah,
the
not affiliates or endorsers of
affiliate?
Chris
Thank
Stanley.
you.
I mean,
Thank you. Thank you.
we appreciate everything. We're not affiliates, so we're not pushing this.
Yes.
Like, yeah,
Thank
we're
you.
just
That's where I was going with it. Yes, the mini book model, though. So when Michelle
it's
came to me at the end of April, just after she'd given me this incredible feedback and suggested, gee, you might want to consider joining the cohort. And hey, here's a mini book model, digestible read. And Chris Stanley was genius with this. And my book, while it doesn't 100% follow the model, I was inspired by it. And that's what
mhm.
I always share. So, and he seems to be pretty proud of me. He is giving me some props too. So I like to think I've done something right with it. But the point of the exercise is to not focus on that 200, 300. What was War and
Yeah.
Peace? Like 1,000 pages, you said, Michelle? Something like
300,000 words, roughly.
300,000 words. That's where I'm going with it. Yes.
Yes. No.
Isn't War and Peace. It's
Yeah.
literally writing your business book or whatever that topic, that ideas that you have, just in a smaller way. And it still can make a big impact. So that's the one thing I really want people to understand.
And it doesn't have to be one. I know Richard in our cohort, who is in the architectural field, we settled, and I think he's doing a whole series. He had so much to share in his 30 something year career. So that's another thing. You don't have to do one, you make a series. Own Your Lane is going to be a series of smaller mini books too. So that's my vision too, because I love digestible content so people can read it, learn it, take action. How many courses, when you think of it like a too long of a business book, think of it as like a business course that or online course that we all want to take, but it's just kind of bloated and we never finish it. We want these people to take action, right? So that's why a mini model is so helpful to people. We have no attention span, sadly, most of us, right? So yeah, I'm a big fan. Okay, so we got number one, start small. What's number two? Did we cover number two yet, G?
Yeah, that was basically just, the smaller, get your idea target audience was number 1, start smaller with number 2, but number 3 is just start. Just start
Yes.
writing. So like I said before, and you and I have talked about this, we all have an idea from somewhere, right?
Mhm.
So whether it's based on a talk, whether it's based on LinkedIn content you've written and created and repurposed in 80 different ways, expand upon it, boom, you've probably got a book right there. There's so many different things that you can do. And, what I really love about this too is that, to your point, and going back to the longer book that I thought I had to write a year ago, I still want to revisit that same book, except with a completely different perspective now, knowing I can make it smaller. But in this case, I was able to get myself out there faster with a
Yes.
book that is a business complement. So this book actually serves a purpose. And to be able to say that you're an author, I'm not sure about the audience, but I will tell you the one thing, and I've been vocal about this over the years on LinkedIn, but the one thing that I'm always very vocal about is that I'm not a big titles person. I never needed
Mhm.
to have the VP title or the director title, or like I never needed the big status. Something didn't align with that. But author for me, to be able to put that in my headline, it's a completely different feeling than a job
Yes.
title, because job titles come and go, right? But
Yeah.
when you can say that you are a creator or an author or whatever that case may be, that's yours for life. That cannot be taken away from you. And so just having that, but you do not go anywhere if you do not get started, period. And
Yes.
the rest of it will flow. The rest of the process, it'll come later, but you have got to put one foot in front of the other to even just make that initial attempt to get started. So that's number 3. It's
Exactly.
literally just like I said, with that talk, with that content, whatever that looks like, there is a way to move forward and get excited too. I guess if I can add a fourth one, be excited about it. If you are de-energized by what you're writing, you are on the wrong path. You're not
Exactly.
doing it right.
And you can do public accountability. Now, I want to shout out to Dee because she did a phenomenal job. And when I announced Own Your Lane in February 1st, I had big visions this year of doing a lot better. But my problem is I started writing my book and had to like deconstruct. It was just like a lot of iterations. So that took me off track as far as getting out there and sharing. And I just want to shout out to you because you did a phenomenal job. You get people around your cause, your book. People want to root you on. They also want to be inspired, and hopefully, you can help them be inspired to write their mini book too. So you did a phenomenal job. If you're just tuning in and G is, you're just on the radar now, go back to some of her posts months back. She has done a phenomenal job just sharing the process. And now everyone on your book launch live with Jillian, shout out to Jillian, a couple weeks ago, there were almost 400 comments that day on your live stream book launch. I mean, people were just rallying you on, including me, which probably had about 50 of the comments. Good. I was just so excited for you that day. And that's the thing with getting out there. And so don't hide it, share it. Okay. So I absolutely love that. Let's talk about where this is taking you now, because writing a book, I like to call your book baby. Once you have it, usually it's an evergreen thing. You're not one and done. It is just beginning. You can leverage it into PR, publicity, other offerings. I like to say a book ecosystem. Now, you and I have talked about what this might look like. So, can you share with everyone what it looks like for you and where you see this going?
Well, I love training. I love speaking publicly if and when I have something to share. I am not a fan of just speaking to speak. And we all know those people, but I'm really passionate about empowering people to think above and beyond where they sometimes allow themselves to stay stagnant. And with this book, what's really really amazing about it is there's 7 takeaways from it. So there's 7 chapters. I actually have 7 books lined up here to remind me of the number of 7. I'm big into odd numbers, but I love the number 7 in this case because there's some very specific intentions with each chapter, and within that, I'm thinking, hey, why not do a training? Why not take each of those and break them apart and do whether it's corporate training. I might decide to expand upon each of those later into articles, into more books. Also, too, if and when I decide to go back and write, another book, like I said before, I'm going to do so with a lot of this on the brain. So I've learned a lot of lessons along the way. And one of the great things about this too is people have been reaching out to me, and sometimes publicly, sometimes in DMs. And I'm amazed by the number of people who tell me, they use the word inspire, and you always want to inspire other people, right? Like, something, you're doing something right if the universe is telling you or telling other people to, give you that feedback. And I'm amazed by the number of people who've reached out to me and just said, "Gee, you're doing what I want to do. I want to do
Mm.
this for myself. I haven't known how to get started. How did you do it?" And so I want to be able to speak to that more. And again, continue down that path and see where that goes. So there's a
Oh,
lot of different things though with the mini book.
yeah.
And again, I think the biggest thing for me though was the sense of accomplishment. Like, I completed this process. For me, that was big, because if you think about it, how many times do we start, say, well, maybe I'll do this, and oh, maybe you start writing for this, and then eventually maybe it goes away. But in this case, I started something, I finished something, and I am proud of it. And there's so many different layers to this process. I mean, I've written about some of it, and thank you also, Michelle, for crediting me with that. But everything about this book was part of the process. I wrote,
Yes.
in part about the cover, and part about the editing, and part about the publisher. There's just so many different layers to it. And I'm still, and I tell people to please stay tuned, because I'm still unpacking some of that. And I look forward to sharing more.
Oh, I know you will. You're really good about that. Well, I'm glad you said that because we have a question from Flora. She said, "Did you self-publish?" Now, we didn't talk about that. In our cohort, we had different presentations on the different publishing avenues you can take, and you chose self-publishing. Can you give us a little perspective on what that looked like?
Sure. So well, and it goes back to intention. So let's start there, because everybody who wants to write a book is going to do so with different intentions. So for example,
Mhm.
some people are doing it for scholarly purposes. Some people want to write poetry. Some people want to see their books in Barnes Noble. I just wanted to write a book to have as a business compliment. So I kept it as basic as possible. And with that being said, I was very fortunate to have the Jillian Whitney and her
Yes.
husband, Devin, who recently have gone into that Amazon publishing, that Kindle Direct Publishing route, actually put together a bit of a step-by-step process that very nominal in cost. So you're not spending thousands and thousands of dollars. I mean, we've
Mhm.
heard the horror stories of people going out and spending, 20 grand plus on a publishing process that takes them nowhere.
Mhm.
And it was seamless, fluid. I worked with trusted people, which, by the way, if we can give one more shout to the Jillian Whitney, if you
We
are not
can.
following Jillian Whitney, if you want to get started in video, if you want to start podcasting, Jillian is just phenomenal. And she's been my video coach and very good friend for the past few years. And when I learned that she and her husband Devin came up with this very methodical step-by-step Amazon publishing process or self-publishing process, it made best sense for me. Whereas there were other people in the cohort that maybe they were taking a different route, for
Yeah.
educational purposes and such. So again, it goes back to your intention and what you want to do with it. I just wanted to get something written and out there to the masses. But do I
Exactly.
expect it to sell millions of copies? Probably not. Would I love it to? Absolutely, a
Well,
thousand
you can
percent.
on the road. There's nothing stopping you. Just get it out, proof of
Absolutely.
concept, get that in flag in the ground that you're an author. I do want to shout out to Jillian because she will be transitioning or opening up a new avenue to her business called Easy Peasy Books. I hope she doesn't mind me giving that teaser for that because what she and Devin do is really, really helpful. And yeah, I've used her too for video and live streaming. So shout out to them as well. Robin has a quick question, then we're going to get to some comments, and then we're going to here's the thing, everybody. G and I, when we get on the phone, we end up, it's like when I talk to Michelle Raymond, we spend like an hour and a half, 2 hours talking. Like we can't help it. So this is going to be hard to wrap this up in 30 minutes. But we'll come back in the comments. If you have questions that we didn't answer, feel free to tag us both. But Robin has a good question. And we want to just really let people know, how do you define many? And then what does Chris Stanley say in his book? Is it like 10 to 12,000? What is it exactly?
I feel like the last time this came up, it was 10,000, but then he said it's even grown from there. Like, so closer. So for example, my book is probably closer to about 12,000 words.
Mhm.
And I had mine pretty much written, but then I went back and decided to add to it. And so, oops, I added more. But at the end of the day, there's no specific set number. It's really just a smaller piece of content. So really around, say, I don't know, 60 to 80 pages or so, depending on your
Mhm.
font size, it's going to vary, but keeping it smaller and being informative, and just, again, sharing those thoughts in a more digestible format. And it's interesting too, because anytime this comes up now, people are really leaning into this concept of mini book. Like,
Yes.
they like the idea more of writing smaller, because everyone talks about attention spans being, less and less and less, which is, it's a legit concern. I mean, I know
Yeah.
it took me forever to read Atomic Habits. Phenomenal book, but I mean,
Yeah.
with all of its 129,000 reviews or what, I mean, that book, incredible book, but I mean, I had to sit there, and it took me a long time to read it
I
because
think it's social media and video
yeah.
and short feed. We're untraining our brains for longer, but I digress. Not only is it easier to write, it's easier for your reader to just take, like I said earlier, take it and go with it. So yeah, so I just fell in love. I read the book March of 2023. I immediately sent out to Chris. This is brilliant. So okay, switching gears. Mary Wu, hello. Thank you for being here. And Jillian, hey, Jillian, if you're not here, people are talking about you behind your back. Oh my goodness, right? In the best way possible, of course. Jillian is an amazingly wonderful person to know. I second that. I know you second that. And we both met Jillian. I met her in Vegas when I was there in March, and you met her in Dallas just a few weeks ago. So we both second that. We're in the Jillian fan
Oh
club.
my goodness, yeah,
Absolutely.
all day long.
Yes.
Look at these
Yeah.
names,
So
I'm seeing everyone in
I
comments, this is
know,
amazing.
Gail. Brenda and Gail both love your display or your
Oh,
books. Yes.
thank you. I know it's one of those things where now you have to do it. First, I felt a little bit awkward. Is that kind of too much? Whatever, but it works. People, you know why? Because people love the cover, and like I said, the cover in itself is a whole other story. But I had this thought on the brain.
Put your prop back on so people can
Oh
see it. For
yes,
those
the
just
prop
joining, because I
again.
want to shout out to Juana. I'm so sad. I got the tail end, but you know what? That's the beauty of LinkedIn live stream, the replay, and this also goes in YouTube. So I'll catch the replay. We are having so much fun and hard to contain our conversation to 30 minutes, but we are trying. We want to shout out to everyone who's here today watching live,
Yeah.
listening on the replay, and down the road on the podcast. We thank you so much. We also want to know, G and I want to know, is a mini book on your radar? And if so, what is the topic? Who are you writing for? Drop it in, put the intention out there, like you said, to just start. That's getting
Yes.
you started. And I always say, when you put it out publicly, that's an action step that signals to your brain, I can do this. You can do it. You can absolutely do it. Yolanda says, "Congratulations, G." Absolutely, we are shouting her out.
She's
This
local,
cover
and
is so
she
cool.
is the one who
Mhm.
kept nudging me to do, like,
Yes.
"Hey, do a party, do this." Like, Yolanda's an amazing friend and fan, and so thank you.
Well,
Thank you,
you can
everyone.
still have a party. Like it's not. I mean,
Yeah,
just because it's out doesn't mean it just begins, right? So,
yeah.
Felipe says. Jillian Whitney is one of the kindest people who is willing to share knowledge with others. She really, really is. So we're
Yes.
just in the fan club. So Gail, yeah, look at you, Jillian. Jillian's gonna come into this comment going, "Oh my goodness!" She's just such a giver.
We
It's the
gave you lots of
epitome
love
of
today.
such a giver on LinkedIn. So,
Yeah.
in our last few minutes, okay, we get all excited and we have to wrap up, sadly. But I just want to shout out to everyone who has writing a book on your radar. You can do it. You have a message to share, an experience like no other. And a mini book is the best way to get it out there. Look at G. In 4 months, 4 months, she did this. So, G, what's your one takeaway that you haven't covered for those who are on the fence and aspire to do what you did?
Your idea matters. And I kid you not, when you put that out there, going back to setting that intention and letting people know, I kid you not. When I shared, "Wow, I'm doing this," people just came in droves to say, "Wow, that's cool. I want that for myself. How did you do this? I'm excited for you." I mean, look at the people here. I mean,
Yes.
I'm just seeing the names and the love in comments here. There are so many people here willing to they want to cheer you on. People want to see you succeed. And everyone has a story. Everyone's got a message. You just need to start somewhere. And again, start with the basics. Do not let it get too overwhelming. Start with that idea, who you're writing for, what you want to write about. And then, of course, putting pen to paper and, just in having fun with it. Like I said, and we've talked about, if you're not enjoying it, you might not be on the right track. So, you know what that means? You just kind of say, you know what? I'm going to pump the brakes, no pun intended with Own Your Lane. I love the title of your book, by the way, but you know what I mean? Like, hey, let's stop. Let's, circle back and start over. And it's there. The magic's there waiting for you. Just make it happen.
Oh, so well said. I would definitely say, because I'm in the thick of finishing my book, and this is why I had to have so many iterations. Write the book for where you want to go. Like if it's something you're not really interested in or care about, or it's like the past, leave it and write to where you want to go. And I realized that writing mine, I was writing to where a service offering or how I want to show up in the world and had to match. So make sure that is aligned, because like G says, it'll light you up and it'll help you get it out there faster. It shouldn't be a draggy process. Once you start, it's the easiest part. So G, the shortest time on record that you and I have ever talked. So I can't believe we did it. That's awesome. We all want to shout you out again and again and again. Hold up the book again. Congratulations. Hold up two of them if you have. You have two? Okay, so you're gonna break the 7. I
I'll
take
break this
okay.
down.
Look at that. Yes. So if you're listening, watching, you want to write a mini book, you can do it. I swear you can do it. So we're cheering you on in advance. Write it out, put it in the comments. We want to hear. So, G, thank you so much again for being on today's show. What a fantastic lessons, 3 lessons plus bonus on how to become a first time author as a mini book writer. So, thank you so much. All right, everybody, that's it for today's session. Until next time, keep putting yourself out there. You have a brand to build, a message to share, and people to impact. I'll catch you next week. Take care.